We are testing a new video teleconferencing capability called BigBlueButton, and it will allow people within CH Mason Jurisdictional Institute to be able to get to their classes even though they're remote, just using a regular internet connection and web browser. Right now, it says it requires 2 or more participants because it requires 2 people to have a full connection, unless you are the actual moderator of the area. When you click on the link on the front page, you'll be taken to an area. It will load a few modules, and then this area will come up. It's typically arranged in this fashion. In the upper left corner, it talks about the different users. The lower left corner, it has all of the people who connected in using their headsets or microphone and speaker. The center area is the work area where you will see most of the action occurring. The right-hand side is a chat area where people can type their different chat messages. And then movable within the area is your webcam presentation. In a typical teaching scenario, the instructor will be visible, but the students will not necessarily be visible. So if you can imagine a one-to-many relationship, one person, the instructor, will be teaching, and everyone else will be observing, just as if you were sitting in a classroom environment. The class that we taught today was Homiletics, and we taught, let me bring this up a little bit so you can see. We taught the illustrations, which was from chapter 10 of the Braga book, and we also went over some of the student outline drafts that the students were putting together in order to prepare for their sermon. That they will have to give 3 sermons at the end of this class. We also went through the portions of the textbook here in BigBlueButton. This chapter, chapter 10, was called the Illustrations. We start off with a quote from James Braga about illustrations. And then we talk about where we are in the book. Page 231 is the definition. I always like using terms and definitions so that the individuals later on will be able to describe the difference between a major division and an introduction, for example. We taught about the different portions, the value, the principles for using the illustrations. And then we talked about how it is advisable as a teacher and preacher to start accumulating your illustrations. They can be from any sources that you like. One example that I gave is our daily bread. I gave that as a suggestion for, if you find something that is particularly of interest to you and resonates with you, perhaps it will with others as well. I also mentioned that when someone is up preaching, you see the folks in the front row typically scribbling furiously in their little books or scraps of paper or whatever. And not always, I have to admit, not always am I writing exactly what Pastor Hunt's talking about or the other preachers are talking about. So that was an example. And then I spoke about how every once in a while it's helpful to just sit down and write some of your reminiscences, just so you can have them while they're on your memory, because there are some times where you will be in the midst of preparing a sermon. You'll want an illustration. It will be appropriate for you to have an illustration, and your mind will be blank. So it would take a tremendous amount of time to go try and research. Where can I find an illustration about truthfulness? Those sorts of things. So that was a suggestion. I also used an example that I had where I send some of my, there it is. I send some of my texts. I actually do SMS texting directly to, let me get rid of that. I SMS text directly to a blog that I have, and then I take information from that blog and able to talk about different things. Here's a very good example. Elementary school. I and another young man liked calling this one girl frog legs. It was a hurtful thing to do, but we were kids and we didn't think about it too much. Now, 40 some odd years later, I talked to her on Facebook and found out that she used to go home to her mother crying about having been called names. Well, I guess turnabout is fair play, or shall I say that people rise to the top regardless of their situations, because she ended up becoming our high school homecoming queen. Clearly one of the most beautiful women in the school. And yet all I can remember about her is I called her frog legs in elementary school. So I had to apologize to her 40 some odd years later for having been so thoughtless when I was growing up and having been more caring. So that's the sort of thing that you can take your remembrances and use them for illustrations, write them all down, have them so that you can look at them, and then when you need them, go back and take a look at your repository. So that was very helpful, I believe, a good session. Again, we taught today Homiletics, Chapter 10. Oh, what is this? Oh, okay. Chapter 10, the illustrations from the James Braga book, or Braga book. And it was me and missionary Monica Prince who were online. She was over in Alexandria, Virginia, was unable to make it out to class today, but I was still able to conduct the class online with her using this format. So this is definitely going to be a positive thing for us in the long run. I'm certain of it.